So if you ever had a chance to drive an Indy car, most people don't, the first thing you're gonna realize is how heavy the steering is. So there's no power steering, which is unique to the top championships in the world. You know, NASCAR has power steering, Formula One, the same thing. Indy Car has none of that. So all of the load and all of the kickback is coming directly to the driver. So the steering torque is about 30, 35 pounds. So it truly is like picking up a 30 or a 35 pound plate and feeling that load for, you know, a distance of time. So that's the first thing that's gonna stand out. And then on top of that, when you're braking or you're cornering, you're gonna be feeling all the G-force. You know, if I'm a 200 pound guy and I'm experiencing 5 Gs, that means I weigh 1,000 pounds in that moment that I'm experiencing that force. So all of that combined with a hot, you know, difficult environment, it just taxes you muscularly, it raises the heart rate, and just makes you really have to focus in on the job at hand, which is difficult at 200 miles per hour. So our physical fitness level is really critical. It's something we take extremely serious. It's something that can help elevate our game and make us better on track. Hey everybody, I'm Josef Newgarden. I'm an Indy Car driver. I'm here in New York City today with Men's Health, and I'm gonna show you a little bit of my training. When I'm deeper into the off season, I'm really working on muscle building. I'm trying to just build better strength. I'm trying to maintain a high cardio base so that, you know, I feel like I can get through whatever. And then we start tapering that into muscular endurance for the season. So think your circuit training type workouts. Just so I want to take that new strength that I've built and I want to be able to utilize it for long periods of time. That's how I'm going to apply it inside of a race car. So a typical IndyCar race is around an hour and 45 minutes. The longest race we run is the Indianapolis 500. It's going to be about 3.5 hours. So they range in depth. So today I'm gonna show you what I would call a conditioning workout, just a maintenance, if you will. We don't always get to work out at our own gym, so I'm in a different gym from my environment. I love Men's Health's gym here. I'm gonna utilize what they have and try and come up with something that will continue to just top me off. You know, I've done all the hard work in the off season, but every day I try and still get into the gym and get some conditioning. We'll just throw a bunch of stuff in there that we can do at a pretty rapid pace to elevate the heart rate and keep our muscles moving. So we're gonna be doing a quick conditioning circuit today. We're gonna do a series of moves. I'm gonna start with a push-up to renegade row. We're gonna move right to the next movement, all the way through the line, and then we're gonna break after the last movement before we get to the next round. So I like that this is more full body. You know, you're activating the entire upper body with a push to a pull movement. It's a little bit more taxing cardiovascularly. You're asking more than just a push up. You're trying to also hit the back. So it's just more complex. Like a lot of movements that I do, I like to add more complexity to them just to add that taxing factor. So I'm adding farmer walks today. I'm trying to do this in between different stations just to add some cardio and also tax the forearms a bit. So with the farmer walk, typically I'm trying to get 40 yards. If you don't have that and you got a shorter space, you can just go back and forth in between to get that distance you're looking for. So in IndyCar, weight does matter. So 185 is about the highest that you can be. Everybody is ballast up to that weight, 185 pounds. So if you're over that, you say you're 195, you're carrying 10 pounds extra that no one else is carrying. So as long as I'm at 185 or below, I'm not carrying extra weight, but I always like to have a little bit of wiggle room there. So I aim for 175, 180 for my race fitness weight, so that we have that 5 to 10 pounds that we can move around in the race car just to help tuning. So there's a little bit of scope there to help the engineers out. So our next move is gonna be the kettlebell swing. Great for lower body, lower back, glute activation, hamstring activation. It's a good layering piece. So driving an Indy car is definitely high on reaction and explosive. So even with strength training, we try and do a lot of explosive full body movements. So that's why kettlebell swing will get put into the mix. So for me, diet and nutrition is definitely a key ingredient. I try and not overcomplicate it. You know, I go by an 80% rule. You know, I try and be pretty regimented in that, you know, I'm not eating a ton of sweets or taking excess sugar. I'm getting the right mix of carbs, fats, and particularly protein, you know, to maintain muscle mass and help aid recovery. But that 80% rule for me is critical because I don't want to, you know, feel guilty all the time. I still want to have, you know, dessert every now and then. I mean, cereal's like my guilty pleasure, so I'll have Fruity Pebbles at the racetrack if I want something sweet. So I think that's a good rule to live by, but the most critical ingredient for a race car driver is hydration. And you can't just hydrate the night before the race. That starts a week before. making sure that you're topped up, because in a race, a particularly hot race, if you go to a street course, you may lose over 5 to 6 pounds of just water throughout the race. You wanna make sure that you're focused and you can maintain that physical fitness level with a good hydration. So next movement is gonna be a clean, again, full body, pretty taxing on the entire system. So it's nice to add in if you have the equipment. I started doing cleans recently, so don't judge my form. I'm still learning it. I'm still learning Olympic style movements. I think it's really useful if you can master those disciplines. But yeah, for me, I'm still new. So some of my favorite forms of training right now are rowing. I'm big into Concept 2 machines. I love everything that they have. I ski erg, I row erg, and I even bike erg now that they came out with that one. I think they're fun. It keeps it really competitive. You find this whole indoor rowing community now that has these competitions. And the thing I like about training is it keeps that competitive fuel for me when I'm outside the racetrack. I love competing in race cars, but when I don't have that outlet, I try and get that back a bit with my training. So yeah, Concept 2, I'm not endorsed by them, but I love their products. I love what they provide so that you can stay competitive as an athlete. So next thing is toes to the bar. Depends on the variation of this. I'm gonna try and actually go straight leg all the way up. So we'll probably do about 10 reps per set. Core training is really critical for Indy car racing. When you're in the car, all the G-force that you're experiencing is just pushing on you, and you're having to control your body mass at all times. If you can't control your body mass well within those movements, it's really physically taxing. So the stronger you are there, the better you are in the car. So next is mid-ball slams. This is full body, it's explosive, it's very activating for the core, and just being explosive within your movement, I think, in an odd way relates to the reactiveness and intensity of the Indy car. A lot of it's for the potential of a wreck. You want your body to be relaxed and nimble and, be able to move in ways that it shouldn't in a lot of respects. So, in the event that I would hit the wall at 200 miles per hour, I want my body to be able to flex in ways that it needs to. You need very good spinal mobility. So all of that stuff's important, not just for driving the car, but for the event that something bad happens. Mental health is a huge part of what we do in racing. It is a very intense environment, not just inside the cockpit, but also, the demand that we have on us as sort of leaders of the team. You can't run from that. Whether you want to be a leader or not, you sort of have to be when you're driving the race car. You're directing a lot of people around you, telling them what you like, what you dislike about the car, what you need for that day, and you're trying to represent everybody. You're dealing with all the fans, you're dealing with your partners, your team owners, your managers, the mechanics. So mentally, it can be very, very taxing. So I think you got to understand what works for you as an individual. I'm a total introvert, so I know I need my recharge time. I make sure to take care of that in between race weekends, even just going home and maybe not talking to anybody for 24 hours. That's something that helps me. So I think it's very individualized, but making sure you take care of your individual mental health and making sure that you're doing any small tasks that help you feel good every day, it makes a difference on the racetrack for sure. So the last workout we're gonna do is some Russian twist. It's a great staple within any workout. For us, it's really useful because it's gonna be high core, high stability. Also, it's gonna tax our arms, our shoulders. I'm gonna be using a 35-pound plate. Just like I was telling you, no power steering in the car, so it's gonna be helping aid that type of conditioning too. All right, everybody, that's a quick conditioning workout. Look, the biggest thing for me is even if you're tired or you're not feeling it, just try and get into the gym. It doesn't always have to be a PR day, it doesn't have to be a record day. But just getting into the gym, trying to work out, elevate your heart rate, it's gonna go a long way for your week, for your years ahead. So that's why I try and focus on. I hope you enjoyed this workout. If you haven't checked out Indy Car, make sure you check out a race, especially Indy 500 during the month of May.